Good morning, and thank you again for the Institute for the investigation, and greetings to everyone. I wanted today to offer my perspective as an investigating journalist. In other words, in the day-to-day with the different sources, in some cases persons that are coming from Venezuela, and persons that are working here in the United States in different positions in the federal government, in federal agencies and so on, and somehow in order to see and to show the perspective that is being seen from that point of view, from the day-to-day efforts and fights. It is something that I believe it is important to highlight. I think that everything that has been said here, just like what Douglas said, for sure there is a criminal organization, and it is a criminal organization that works with a structure that is very creative and very effective, is constantly changing. And I believe that this criminal organization has as its main objective to get money, because after all, these revolutions need to survive with money. They don't really are going to have loyalties. For example, in Venezuela and maybe in Cuba, the revolution had some type of ideological loyalties, but in Venezuela, the loyalties are bought with money. So what is the piece of the pie that I'm going to be able to eat from this here? So the militaries, the politicians, they have an understanding that if a financial structure that is very efficient, then it can stay, otherwise no. And another thing that is very interesting is that the United States probably has a lot of information as to how these networks operate. It is something really surprising. For example, in the specific case of how this network operates, starts with all this cocaine that is brought from Colombia, in the past from Bolivia too. I'm not sure if now, but it's possible. Now, how is it brought, for example, through numbers of different ways? For example, something that had not happened before is how the Sinaloa cartel specifically has actively acted in Venezuela and in Colombia, of course, in the border with Ecuador. There are places where they basically coordinate the transport logistics. And then this cocaine that comes out of Colombia at an estimated price of maybe $1,000 per kilo later becomes something that is $15,000 in Honduras, which is an important place of transport, and then it goes to the other markets like Miami, for example, California, and so on, where then the price is a lot higher, $30,000, $40,000 per kilo. So if you do some numbers, every day you have one or two airplanes that are going out with a large number of cocaine. It is a formidable economy. And the interesting thing about this is that, especially in the last 3 years and coming forward, there has been an offensive effort from the United States agencies to see who is working on this, how are they operating, who is the person in the Sinaloa cartel that is coordinating the flights from the Zulia state, for example, which is an oil state that has 400 illegal flight strips. For example, one thing is to transport the cocaine, and another thing is then to pick up the money, like from the United States. And they also have other routes towards Europe, for example, towards West Africa, and from there it goes through the Middle East. But only in the United States there is a huge infrastructure that used to be used before by the PDVSA to the United States, but now they're using other ways. For example, there are agencies that are investigating shipping companies in Miami and other places. They're using these to transport the cash money, and there are methods that are completely creative and new. For example, there are companies that buy large pipes and they fill them with cash and they go through containers, and when it gets to Venezuela, then the money is distributed to different persons that are going to be able to get it, and this is the way they're going to launder money. So we have protected witnesses that have testified about an air bridge between Venezuela and Cuba in order to not only transport drugs but also cash. And the question that I ask in order to close now is, this is a tremendous challenge because we have an influx of cash money that is coming in, and how can we combat this? How can, in the case of Venezuela, the dictatorship come out, and in Cuba and Venezuela, they're not going to turn in power because they have a lot to lose, and also because there is not a contender that is really strong enough. They have a lot of information that is available to them. And so what is it that we need to do? And I believe that it's not necessarily elections or any type of covenants, democratic agreements. No. Thank you very much.